So I'm just gonna throw this out there because I'm a bit cooked, honestly, because when I started my laptop up this morning, it was having like a really weird fuzzy effect or whatever it was that could literally make the screen look like, I don't know, staticky, which I've never seen before. It looks like someone was trying to hack my stuff, which that's not possible, I'd hope. But when it comes down to it, it's probably also due to the battery pack being old or the temperature in the room, because I keep getting that type of warning every time I boot it up. So when it comes down to it, I'm just gonna throw this out there in front of the video just in case someone does have any chance or way to help out with getting a newer laptop, because this is not good. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how long this laptop I got currently is gonna last. So if anybody would like to get some traction going with that, that'll be very much appreciated. The Throne Gifts links will be in the description, and with that being said, on to the video. I think one of the main things I feel like a lot of people don't understand about Loli is, very simply put, that when it comes down to these characters, they're not just cute, right? Yes, they can absolutely be cute. Yes, you can see them for their innocence, and that's pretty much fine if you only want that. That being said, there's also a branch of them where it's like, they can be used in more mature ways. Hell, if you really think about it, in the 80s again, you had that happen for a reason. Like, yeah, they were cute, nice, and bubbly, and that's all there was to it. But then when you start taking them into more mature themes, like, alright, what do we put them from this situation to a whole nother situation that is impossible, then that's when, interesting concepts end up getting created. And to be real, that's kind of how anime, for a lot of the aspects that we have now, kind of came to be. Because you chucked a whole innocent type of character trope and then chucked it into something more mature and things that obviously they wouldn't be into normally. And essentially, that's kind of what happened. That's kind of how we got a lot of the stuff we have now. And I'm not gonna lie, when it comes down to some of the lolicon material, I obviously feel like the best stuff comes from the most messed up and kind of weirdest places. Like, I'm not necessarily gonna lie, you can have a character like a policewoman, for example, be basically used and abused by her own staff and people, and that's perfectly fine. I don't think there is a bad doujin in that, but at the very same time, if you use it and switch it up into a lolly, then it will be even more crazier, and it could be even more of an interesting, I guess, take on the matter of it, which in my eyes, it feels a bit more fresher and it feels a bit more unique because you use a lolly for that reason. Like most messed up concepts that we have as, like, a regular mature character kind of just going through it, yeah, it happens. Yes, it still could be very good and it could be still very interesting, but it's even more wild and crazier when you just have the concept of it being a lolly character. And that's just kind of how it is for me. Now, keep in mind, I don't want to see lolly just used in a lot of really messed up ways that even I don't necessarily like, but I want to see it used in ways that could be potentially unique. I just want to see different tropes used in different ways that can potentially tell something a bit different that you would normally get from a regular character that only something of a shorter character can do, honestly. And that's really what I'm mainly looking for. Now, that doesn't mean I like, or don't like any other doujin or any other trope that just doesn't fit the standard, because yes, I could definitely take a story about a shy girl getting used in some shape and form, and that's perfectly fine. I could take an opie lolly if I really want to, but at the very end of the day, I feel like there's a lot more weird, crazier, and darker stuff here in the topic of lolly when it comes down to these type of doujins more than anything else. I mean, if we could have literally lollies out here just in regular anime murking the hell out of people or just being absolute psychopaths at times, I feel like going the doujin route and how they kind of go about certain ones, I feel like that's also fair game. And I'm gonna basically use 3 different doujins that I found that is pretty dang good in some shape or form and capacity, and I'm just gonna basically lay it out for you and explain to you exactly why I like these type of things. I say 3, but it's really more like 2, because one of them is more like a compilation of just random characters than anything else, but at the very same time, it still pretty much fits the standards of what I'm looking for. The first one in the compilation is essentially called Show Bitch. Yes, that is the name. And when it comes down to it, it's just a compilation of just different happenings when it comes to different lolly characters. But the first one is essentially just some random guys like, yo, hey, check this out real quick. I found this lolly real quick, right? She basically is just hoeing herself out for basically pocket change. And that's essentially how it kind of goes. So basically, lolly and prostitution. It's a weird ass mix. A mix that you would never really, even in anime, would see. Because let's just keep it very much a stack. I don't think, for a high extent, you'll see that in a normal anime and everything goes fine. The only times you will probably see a lolly in that sort of situation is something like an interspecies reviewer, where it's like, you know, it's a monster girl and they're a lolly, and that's a different take, and that's a different thing. And obviously you can do whatever you want with that one because it's a monster girl, who cares. But in a regular sort of anime context, yeah, this would never fly. You will probably never really see a lolly character getting rammed and jammed very much descriptively in detail. Then you will probably only see that like in Gentai, even barely in like actual animated Gentai, but more so in Doujins. But yeah, she was just offering up anybody wanted to hit. You gotta pay her first, but you can hit, and it's gonna be a nice ass time. And that's essentially how it is. But that's probably the more, I would say, tamer examples that you can have, which I don't mind these type of stories because again, it is wild and up to what I would like to see in more doujins. But at the very same time, you know, that's just kind of how it goes. It's a bit more tamer than most, but still it's pretty dang good. Now this next one was a lot more hotter than honestly it had any right to be. And this one is called Hadaka Gurashi Chapter 3. And when it comes down to it, it's essentially Lolis, Shota, whatever, living on this little island with their families and everything, and just regular people. You know, you think it's like a regular setting. The only difference is everybody's a nudist. Everybody is. And that's essentially how it all pretty much goes, right? You get lolly nudist, you get Shota nudist, no one really cares. And in fact, it's normal in that universe that that happens. It's normal on that island that that's just how it is. No one is basically, you know, trying to do anything wild, essentially. You know, especially with there's like one scene where like the main girl was like kind of hanging around a few guys trying to buy something. I was thinking something crazy was about to happen, but nothing actually happened. It's again a normal thing in their universe where it's like, yeah, we see nudist girls like that all the time. It doesn't necessarily matter. Which honestly, I kind of got to give, you know, props to this damn doujin, because lots of stories have this. And immediately it's, hey girl, so you want some more of this product? How about we go into the back? No, they didn't do that. So honestly, props to this doujin for not necessarily being, you know, the stereotypical type of situation of what usually happens. But no, it's not even about the girl, if I'm being honest. It's more so about the girl's mom. The girl's mom was on timing. In fact, a lot of the adult females is on timing when it comes to Shotas, because she was riding the shit out of her friend. And the very same thing happens to plenty of other Shotas that's on this dang island. Whether it's teachers, whether it's, you know, other types of people, it doesn't necessarily matter. And consider that this is just chapter 3 of this dang doujin, I'm kind of curious to see what other stuff ended up happening in the past. And this one is pretty much tame as well, I would say, because, you know, outside the manga just being absolutely wild and, you know, being absolutely unhinged, this one's a bit, you know, this one's a bit tame as well, I would say, because really it's about the Shota and the lolly kind of go ahead and clapping cheeks because, you know, the mom kind of enticing the boy, being like, come on, do my daughter, I know you want to. And that's essentially how that goes, but she still gets in where she wants to as well. And so basically you're just having a mom and daughter combo, which sounds absolutely like a good time. How does it not? And that's essentially the whole deal for this chapter, which again, I'm gonna go out and try to, you know, read the other two before it and see if there's anything else, because this is easily my favorite story, maybe outside the next doujin that we're gonna talk about, but overall it's pretty dang good. Then we end up finally getting to the last one, and it's basically called Don't Touch. Oh boy, you see this face right here? This looks like it's gonna be on some type of weird timing. And boy howdy was it really, because at the whole beginning of the story, you end up immediately find out that the parents of this kid ended up getting burnt alive in a house fire, and essentially she getting taken care of by her uncle, which her uncle is no really good person either. He ends up being like, yeah, this kid should have died in that fire as well, so I don't necessarily have to deal with this. And essentially what ends up happening is that she just kind of being cheerful. She doesn't necessarily, you know, be bothered by things and all that type of stuff, even though her parents literally just died in a fire. And so essentially the thing kind of happens where she's just sucking on this man, even though he didn't really start that shit in the first place. But then she goes on about how her whole ass dad would go ahead and beat her and stuff and make her do these type of things, and you kind of know where things leading into. And so she's just basically enticing herself for her uncle to come through and just take whatever he needs. And boy howdy does he just go ham, just doesn't necessarily care, basically being controlling on her the same way her dad was on her. And essentially, once everything's finished, all the cum splatter is everywhere, really the big reveal happens where essentially it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I killed the hell out of my own dang parents because they didn't give me any money. They burnt that alive in that fire because I did that shit. So when it comes down to it, if you don't want to meet that same fate, you better give me some money. And that's the crazy twist ending, which once again is kind of the shit I'm looking for in a weird way. More so the last story, but this is something that's equally acceptable. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was at first kind of worried because the reveal don't happen until the very last page. And I was like, oh, don't tell me that, you know, she's actually gonna be just very submissive the entire time. Don't just tell me that she's gonna, you know, not be on psychopathic energy. I need to see her on psychopathic energy. I hope she's a bit crazy, because that will make this whole doujin go hard, and it absolutely does. So you're not just getting in her cheeks for no reason. You better cough out the money, or, you know, it's gonna be like how Meg was trying to show off her new outfit only for that one lady to get burnt alive because she set herself on fire, and that's just kind of how it is, right? But my point is, when it comes to these stories, these different doujins, and these different wild and ass takes of how they go about certain things, is that they're all interesting. They're all crazy, and they're all interesting of how they take a lolly character that you would normally, again, think that is just like an innocent, sweet, wholesome ass character, only for them to take that trope and then just straight up put it through a torture chamber test or whatever, or something like that. And essentially, you get some of the more cooler stories, you get some of the more like amped up stories and the wilder stories too, but you get some of the good shit that's there, and that's some of the peak stuff that honestly I think hits hard about doujins, and just hits hard in doujins in general. You will never find these type of things in regular Gensai content and in regular anime for the most part. You will never really find these things, but yet doujins keep them alive, keep the weird and wacky ideas that probably should never really touch an animated screen, yet definitely they go absolutely ham in what they do. So it's kind of peak overall. I don't know what it is, but it feels like doujins is like that one place where you can just straight up be allowed to indulge in the dark version of things that you would normally never really care for, and that's just kind of how it is, you know? Not necessarily in a... And to be honest, again, it doesn't have to be specifically a lolly. You could just chuck this into any scenario and just type up any of these tags and tropes, and you'll find exactly what you're looking for, whatever it is basically driving you to do so. And that's kind of how it is. But my point is, though, again, is that mainly when I'm looking for stories and looking for different takes on how tropes is done, these are the type of things I'm mainly wanting to see, because I like to see just different ways of how people interpret lolly, interpret, you know, different tags and tropes and stuff that you normally wouldn't, you know, usually see. And when you do some upon things like this, and it gets crazy, and it's actually pretty dang good, and it's all saucy, you got something there, right? So that's just kind of how it is. But that's all I really want to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on the way out. Also follow my socials, and let's donate to the channel. Kofi and Cash Out is available as well. And until then, this is Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.